Hello and welcome to another comedian's interview for my blog and podcast, The Rich Comic Life. My name is Richard Gill and my blog describes my experiences of watching over 1,400 comedians for the last 50 years. I'm delighted to welcome my guest today. It's the comedian Wilson Milton. Yay! Hello.
Hello, good, right?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
Good,
Thank you
lovely.
so much for being my guest.
No worries.
We're gonna spend the next 45 minutes to an hour or so talking about your comedy career, and I'd like to kick off by starting asking you, how did you become a comedian in the first place, please?
Okay, yeah. Well, I was actually trying to be an actor
Right,
originally. I'll tell you the whole story, I guess.
please
So
do.
I went to college and I was doing performing arts, and one of the segments of that course was comedy. And this wasn't about 18 years old, I guess. I was always funny anyway. I could the class clown sort of.
Yeah.
Every parents' evening was the same message from the teacher: as that if he wasn't the class clown, he'd be a very bright boy. Uh,
Charming.
yeah, it was a very underhanded insult. But the reason I was the class clown is because I was already a very bright boy, so I
Well, there you are. Of
didn't have
course.
to listen. But that's what I tell myself anyway. So yeah, and then I went to college to do performing arts, and the course was one of the segments was comedy, and during it, one lesson, the tutor, Carlos, his name was, he said about how comedians become comedians, and he said you go to like a pub or a club, and maybe you'll do 5 minutes for free, and then if they say if you're funny and they like you, they might ask you back and they might pay you. And when he said that, I remember thinking I'd like to try that one day. I don't know when, but it's done something to my insides. I like the sound of it. And then wasn't until I was 25. A friend of mine used to live like down the road from a comedy club, and then I was just driving past and I saw a new act night sign. So then that little Carlos was still in my head. So I said to my friend, "Let's go down and have a look, see what the new acts are like, so that we know." Because we were always, I just go to his house and we just fire one-liners at each other continuously, back and forth. And I said, let's see if they're funny or not. And if they're not funny, obviously, then we'll be full of confidence and we'll sign up ourselves. So we went down to this new act night in Forest Hill in South London. The Hob. It's quite a well-known.
Yeah, I know it well. Yeah,
It's not open anymore, but it used to be quite well known. I saw
yeah.
Mickey Flanagan warming up for his Out Out tour on that
That's right.
in that little
Yeah,
venue.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so we went there. Everyone was new, so everyone was rubbish, and we said, "Oh, we're funnier than that. Definitely funnier than that." So we signed ourselves up to do 5 to 7 minutes each. A month later, came back a month later, and we were rubbish as well.
Oh,
So, but from that, there was like a couple of giggles, like little giggle in the audience, and a couple of lines, and I thought, oh, that was something happened there, so I'll keep
yeah.
that, and I'll try something else, and then done another one there, slightly better, I guess, still pretty bad. And then on my third gig, I went to a place called the Cavendish Arms in Stockwell.
I know it well. Yeah, yeah,
Very good night for new acts,
yeah.
get stage time and stuff. And I went there and just threw out this stuff that was in my acts, and it felt like a total fluke. But everything I said was funny, and there's this laughter that came back, just this roar of laughter. And I just remember thinking, I mean, I've dabbled in narcotics, but I thought to myself, there's no feeling like that just happened to me. And I came back and told
It's
my
like a
dad,
drug. Yeah, yeah.
dad's a bit of a hippie. I said, there's no drugs like that one. And the acting career was over at that point. I said, no, that's not what I'm doing. I'm going to be a comedian now.
That's wonderful. So, what sort of year was this?
That was 2012, I think.
2012, right?
Yeah. So
Because I know the Cavendish Arms very well. I used to go every week, and I've had the regular compere on here, Brendan O'Donoghue, the Irish,
I love Brendan. Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
really lovely bloke,
yeah,
and knows his nous about finding comic talent and everything. He went on to the
yeah,
Savoy Tap where we used to go and see Birdie's comedy there. So
yeah,
I'm a big supporter of um, comedians who are just coming up doing the 5 minutes, and then it's
yeah, yeah.
wonderful having a blog like
Brendan.
this, taking it, watching them fly.
Yeah, I think Brendan started around the same time as me. Actually, he was
Yeah,
quite a regular. He was at most. I'd do a lot of gigs with Brendan at the time. Yeah, he's a
yeah.
one-liner, very funny
Yeah, yeah,
one-liner
yeah,
comic.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Again, yeah. Funny man. So, your your first ever gig, your first ever paid gig was where?
Must have a paid gig. You say paid gig, but
Well, your
there's a
first. Let's go with your first ever gig.
when you say paid gig, is that like I've got expenses covered, or is that?
No, you get paid for your time to go on stage.
Yeah, my first ever paid gig. I don't really remember my first. I should do really, but I don't really remember it. I
Were
remember,
you can you remember anything at all about your first gig? Were you nervous? Did you just go and did you rehearse it? Did you have 5 minutes ready to go?
yeah, I suppose. I don't know. Earlier on in stand up, you're nervous, but you're less nervous because you're so green and
Yeah.
in a way you're more confident uh, and unaware because you're unaware of your inability.
I know what you
You don't
mean.
actually know you don't actually know how bad you are at the time, so you're full of beans. I can remember saying to promoters, why aren't you progressing me? You know, I should be getting better gigs than this. And I look back now and I think you were absolutely dreadful. No wonder you weren't
You can't have been that bad
progressing.
because you kept going.
Yeah. I think
I had a go once, and
yeah.
only once. I've told everybody this. I used to know a promoter years and years ago, and he said to me, and I said, I think I'm funny because I remember all the jokes from the comedians that I see, and I think I've got a 5 minute thing. And he goes, yeah. He said, come on. He said, we've got a gong show, which is for old people, which it couldn't be worse. And so I did this 5 minutes, and I had this 5 minutes ready, and I walked out, and there was three people in the crowd, and
That's big.
I said to them, "Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. People think I look like Eddie the Eagle Edwards, the ski jumper, but I can't see the resemblance myself." Now, I thought that was a terrific line because when I was at college years ago, I was his double. He used to look with the glasses and the chin and everything.
Right.
And some old fella at the back just went, "Fuck off, got me off." And I walked up to my own footsteps, and the promoter went, "Have another go, have another go." I went, "No, I don't know about, never say never again." But I think I found my calling in the
Yeah.
audience.
You'd have been if you'd have been wearing flip flops when you walked off
Yeah.
to your own
if,
footsteps, it would have sounded like applause.
it's the infamous, famous Glasgow Empire, which was notorious for putting on. For comedians used to hate it playing there because they had a really tough audience. And infamously, Des O'Connor, when he started out, when he was a comedian, fainted while he was on stage.
Oh wow.
He pretended to faint and got dragged off, and then he was suddenly all right. And he had to do the evening show because he was like, "I'm not doing it. Don't let me at him." No. But it's this. This is what I like about you. It's this confidence that you've got, and I was very confident going out there, but as soon as you get any reaction, it's like,
Yeah,
oh, does that dent your confidence at all? Because you're very confident on stage, and it's
yeah.
wonderful to see. Would you agree with that?
Inside, I'm very nervous.
Right, right.
No, do you know what? I think it is a matter of just pretending that you're confident. So, I mean, I mean, nowadays I'm a bit more confident, but like that's always been a thing. People say, "Oh, you look so calm and relaxed and
Yeah,
confident,"
that's
and
fascinating.
actually, and actually not
Literally
not
cracking
really.
myself. Oh
Yeah,
dear.
so maybe I should get into acting then.
Well, yes. Following on from this, what do you like to talk about on stage? Do you have any themes or anything like this?
Um, I guess it changes all the time, really. So when I started, I was a one-liner comic.
Yeah,
I literally only told one-liners, and I think that was more of a safety net, really,
yeah,
because if something doesn't work, you haven't committed to a long piece, and then you just go, "So, okay, I'll do another one now." Uh,
yeah. I suppose so. Yeah,
and then the journey was eventually I realized that obviously to get paid doing stand-up, you need 20 minutes, really. That's
right.
that's the paid work
I didn't
comes in
know
then.
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So to remember 20 minutes of one-liners is very difficult,
Oh.
especially as at the time I was a massive stoner. So my memory was shot to bits. I couldn't remember anything,
Oh.
so 5 minutes was a struggle. And I thought, I'm
That's
gonna have to tell
brilliant.
some longer stories just to fill the time. And eventually, I realized that the longer stories actually a little bit more personal stuff in there got got a different kind of laughter, like a recognition laughter, which was actually more satisfying to hear rather than just ha ha ha. What
Yeah.
next? It was ha 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 ha. Me too. Ha ha ha. Me too. Yeah, we recognize what you're saying.
So it's a lot more relatable.
Yeah, kind of observational stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So I guess I do a mixture really.
yeah.
I still love a. It's got to have a whatever I say, I end up trying to make a proper punchline to everything rather than just an observation. So it's the kind of one liner feel to some of my stuff, even though it is observational, I guess. And
That's good.
I do a lot of observations about other cultures actually because I grew up in South London, so it's just what I know. And yeah, I do a lot of gigs on the black circuit now as well, so I kind of purposefully now think about other cultures and what they're doing as well as what I'm
Yeah,
doing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you mind where you play in the sense that if you've got a large audience, do you get nervous or um, how does that work? So because the reason I'm bringing it up is that I saw you in a very tiny club and then I saw you at the Comedy Store, and you were brilliant both times. And the Comedy Store takes a lot of people.
Yeah, I don't. Do you know what? I don't really get nervous.
Yeah,
I do a little bit, but I don't really get nervous anymore. It's more of a just work out who is in the room, what
yeah.
the area is, who the people are, kind of thing, and decide then what material to say and also what level of aggression to use.
So it is audience determinant.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So mainly mainly class. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
working. That's the main difference for me. Working class, middle class. I've got certain bits and stories that I would tell at a middle class gig that they really like usually, and then I wouldn't dream of saying it at a rough working class gig because they'll just
No.
boo me off the stage. You know.
Yes. So tell me about your writing process for a routine or a show. How do you go about thinking about what you're going to say and write? And do you write it down? Do you rehearse it? You must rehearse it.
That's a good question because
Yeah.
I've only just really worked out what my writing process is recently. After
Right.
after all these years, I didn't even know how I was. I don't necessarily write anything. I don't sit down with a pen
Right.
and write stuff down or go on a computer and write stuff. What I do is I think everyone has their own way. What I do is I just have an idea in my head, a thought, an observation that I think is amusing, I guess. And sometimes it rattles around in my head for 6 months to a year, just a reoccurring thought. when I'm doing something sort of boring and numb, it'll just pop into my head, and it will just go again. And then one day I'll think, hold on a minute, that thought's actually quite amusing that I've kept having all of these months and months in a row. And it might, I might think, oh, that actually makes sense if I connect it with that other thought I've been having as well that keeps
Yeah,
coming back.
yeah.
And then I'll just go on stage and speak out what's in my head. I've written it down, and see the reaction to how I say it that day. And then maybe
Incredible.
the audience will laugh in a place I didn't expect, and they won't laugh in a place I did expect. So then I'll go on again at another gig, and I'll say it slightly different based on what happened the first time round. Still haven't written it down. It's still just going around in my head. And I'll do it again and again and again and again. Some point, sometimes during that process, I'll think, oh no, this isn't going to work for me. I'll just discard it and move on to something else. But then sometimes I can just see it starting to get better and better as I tell it each time. And then eventually I'll say it, and it'll land in a way with a rhythm that the audience kind of have decided for me. In a way, the audience writes the joke for me. I come with the idea, and they decide where the pauses and the punchlines are.
That's fascinating.
And I only just realized that recently.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
amazing. So, if you're going to write a 45-minute show, say, you must remember bits that you've said in the past and just tag them on or add them on, and that's how it
Yeah, I
expands.
mean, I am going to write an hour soon,
Right.
and
Yeah.
then probably, yeah, I will actually write stuff down
Yeah. Yeah.
physically in an order with the links to bring the stuff
Yeah.
together
Yeah. Yeah.
as
Yeah.
as a piece. But as it is doing sets in clubs and stuff, and I don't write anything down. No.
That's amazing. Well done, you, because you're
No.
very funny. You're very,
Thank
very
you.
funny. Well done. Um, what do you think makes a good comedian? Is that a good question to ask?
Yeah. I
Come on,
want
be
to judge.
honest.
I want to judge your questions too much. What makes a good comedian? I guess being funny is pretty important.
I think so.
But I think I don't know if it is relatability. You know, it's just that's a very good question because I don't know the answer. Um,
I
maybe
I was just
real
gonna, yeah,
that
carry
they
on.
seem genuine. You have to seem genuine, I guess.
Yeah,
You have to seem real.
yeah.
As soon as there's like a pretense there, then do you know what it is with audiences? I think sometimes audiences they don't even know it themselves, but subconsciously they are aware when you are not being you 100%. And the laughter, that's when the laughter goes down a little. As soon it only has to be a tiny bit of doubt in your head or a tiny bit of you're thinking about something else apart from what's happening right now in the room, and the twinkle goes out your eye a little bit, and the audience, without even knowing, knows. It's a it's such a fine margin of
It's so true. I mean, I've seen so many. I've seen so many. When they walk on, I always think, right, number one, you've got to be funny. Number two, warm or relatable or original or I mean, if you come on as an angry comedian, you've got to do that from the word go. It's interesting if you're suddenly angry and then very fun, very warm or anything like that. What's going on
yeah,
there? But it's this originality, I think, that um, makes you want to see them again. You know,
yeah,
and that's what you've got because I made a mental note and I thought there's something about his stage, your stage presence that makes me
Yeah.
want to go again and see you. And I went
Right.
again and I enjoyed you more. So you're obviously doing the right thing, you know.
Yeah.
So
And
that's fascinating. That's a really good answer.
that's so weird to me as well because like I always thought um you'd get to a point as a comedian and you go, oh, that's it. I'm a comedian now.
Well, I
But
was going to ask you.
it doesn't. That's just not how. I don't think that ever happened. I don't think you ever get to that point of like, oh yeah, I'm a comedian, because really and truly, you're just you're just being yourself. You just happen to be funny, really. So
Yeah,
I'm not a comedian. I'm just me still. So people are like, oh, you're whatever they say about me sometimes, and it makes me feel like, am I? I'm just me. I think, is that imposter syndrome? Sometimes
no,
I get
no,
booked
no.
and stuff.
I think what it is that I don't know whether there's a point where you think to yourself, "Oh, I can do this and I can do this well." It's not necessarily being a comedian. It might just be standing up in public. A lot of people hate standing up and giving presentations, but because you're walking out onto a stage and basically saying what you want in and getting a positive, shall we say, normally reaction to what you say, that can only be a good thing.
Yeah, yeah, yes,
I'm guessing.
yeah.
This is very
I mean,
analytical.
we're all guessing, Rich.
Yeah. And I like the way. I hope you're making. Oh, you're eating. I thought you were making notes.
Right,
It's okay. Now, this next question, right? I've seen you two or three times, and genuinely, I don't ever think I can't imagine you ever having a bad gig. So, can you tell me your worst gig experience, if you've got one, and also your best gig to compromise? Do you have
yeah,
a list of the worst?
I can definitely tell you my worst. Yeah. Um.
Okay.
So I went. This was only recently, actually.
Right.
Um. Guy contacted me on Instagram, and he said, we're doing a charity golf day. Now, golf courses, golf comedy nights, they're not the best at the best of times. So, and he said, it's for this charity. I can't remember what the charity was, but anyway, long story short, I turn up and it's in North London, like right next door to Tottenham Hotspur's training ground.
Right.
And I didn't know it, but I'm the only comedian there. And
Wow.
they've been there playing golf since 9 a.m. and drinking.
Oh
And I
no.
get there at about 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Oh no.
And
No.
they give me a 3 course meal, which was necessary for for what I was about to go through.
Wow. Oh my
And,
gosh.
and then he goes to me, okay, so we're going to do an auction.
Wow.
And then we want you to do some stand up. I know, so we're going to do a raffle, and then we want you to do some stand up, and then we want you to do the auction, to present the auction, right? So I was like,
Oh
okay,
my
fine.
gosh.
It's there's no stage or anything. It's like a busy room of round tables. Everyone's eating meals, and they'd start doing this raffle. And every time they call out the numbers, whoever's won it, they're just like, it's like a rowdy, football obsessed golf thing. So they start going, "You'd army, you'd army,
Oh
you'd
no.
army." It's like it's the noisiest, rowdiest raffle you've
Oh.
ever seen, right? So midway through this raffle, I go up and say to the guy that's booked me, I say, "Look, do you want to have a break after this raffle? Let's because they're gonna need to settle down. Now, I've done enough gigs to know this is not the one to go straight on after, right?" He goes, "No, no, no." He said, "We're just gonna bring you straight on."
The
So
bastard.
so he does this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he finishes the raffle. It's continuously rowdier and rowdier. And then he goes, without even a split second's break, I think they're still cheering about the last prize. And he goes, "And it's now time for our comedian. Please welcome Wilson." And I go on to that. See that clap you just done there, Rich? That was.
You should have had me in the crowd. I'd have
I,
been
I
going
felt
bananas.
that single clap. I felt like I was back at the gig, and I started getting PTSD there.
Oh, mate. Oh.
So I
Wow.
start, and I say my first joke, and the guy at the back says, "Tell us a joke."
Oh, no.
I said, all right.
Oh,
I do another one. So I tell my second joke, and he goes, "Tell us a joke."
oh,
Right, so
God.
now every single time I open my mouth, he just goes, "Tell us a joke." So then I start trying to do a bit of crowd work, and then it just got louder and louder. People just talking over me, talking amongst themselves, until eventually I was just a man in the corner miming. You couldn't even hear me.
I'm sorry for laughing, but that's
And
horrific.
it's fine, it's fine. It's all experience. And then the promoter guy comes and saves my life and comes on. He goes, "Okay," he said, "I'll tell you what, we won't do the comedy now."
Right.
He said, "We're going to get you on after the auction, right?"
Couldn't be worse.
Yeah. So I'm standing at the side now whilst they start doing the auction, and then I just went back up to him and I went, "Look, I know, I know you booked me to do some comedy, but I've got enough experience now to know that this room of people actually hate me now. So there's no chance that anybody's going to listen to me even after the auction, right? So I don't think I should go back on at all. But I won't take all of the fee that you've offered me, but I'm going to need
Good for you.
I'm going to need something for my sadness."
That's so good. I mean, in all seriousness, I know it's a rowdy night and they've been drinking all day and all the rest of it, but we're not here to hear them. We're here to hear the comedian. You know,
Yeah.
there is. I was in the audience for the infamous. It wasn't a well. It turned into a heckle. I was at Headliners and Ricky Grover was on stage,
Yeah.
and these people in the front row were really loud, really horrible. And what happened was he stopped the show, jumped down, physically threw them out, and walked back on stage to the theme from Rocky. And we only discovered later on that he was an ex-boxer.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah, if
course,
there's a
it's
comedian you
such a
didn't
good
want
fit, and I think it made the
yeah,
newspaper.
yeah. If there's a comedian you don't want to mess with, it's
Yeah, it's
definitely
him.
Ricky Rover.
Genius.
Yeah.
What's your best gig then? You must have had one where you thought that's gone really well.
My best gig. Um, do you know it's a strange one, the best gigs, because you'd think it would be like a I don't know, like a really good like the British Comedian of the Year at the
Yeah,
Comedy
yeah,
Store the
yeah,
other
yeah,
day.
yeah.
You'd think it would be something like that, but actually the ones that make me feel the best, if that's what we're gonna describe as the best gig, is ones where you're not expecting it to go well at all. Then
Yeah.
and you make it go well. So for example, I turned up at this little pub once, and it was in Gravesend, and it was rough. There was no stage. It was just standing next to the bar, and the people were scattered all over the pub. And every single act that went on before me was just dying a horrendous death. And I went in there and I thought, well, something you need to do something different in here because that standards comedy stuff isn't working
Yeah.
clearly. So, and I knew it was rough and working class. And if I know anything about working class people, is that they don't mind being insulted. In fact, they quite enjoy it. So I just went on, and then I just started taking the mick out of everybody. There was an array of people. There was a gay hairdresser guy. There was a black guy. There was all sorts of people. A guy that I started saying was Rolf Harris's friend, and
Right.
and it was just really funny. Everything was funny, but I didn't do any material at all. I couldn't do any material because I knew it wasn't going to work, and it wasn't what they wanted. So after I finished, and it all went really well, the other acts first of all were saying to me, "How did you just get away with saying all of that stuff to all of those people?" And I don't know, I'm just lucky like that. I've got a face that
You can
says,
just judge.
ah,
You can just
are you
judge it.
joking? Yeah, yeah, cheeky
I'm
chappy
I'm
kind of thing.
I'm from a working class background from Carlisle,
Yeah,
and having been to so many gigs and gaining confidence personally by sitting on the front row, the comedians take the piss out of me every night, and I love it when they do. And it's
yeah,
so there's something about being part of it more
yeah,
than just being a member of the audience. And I think
yeah. I mean,
that's where I am now.
as long as there's no malice in it,
Oh
then
yeah,
it's,
yeah,
you can tell when there's malice in something.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
yeah, so then after that gig there, I, every single person that died on their ass, and then I'd done really well,
yeah,
and I didn't use any material, and I was literally me. I had
yeah,
to be me,
yeah.
and there was no tricks, no pretense. It was just my own brain, and I didn't even know what I was going to say. So I enjoyed it.
It's brilliant.
So
um,
then,
yeah, carry on.
so then that's for me. That's one of my best
That's
gigs.
brilliant. That's so good. And by the way, in passing, it's not in passing, but congratulations on being a finalist for the British Comedian of the Year. I was delighted to see you when I went along
Oh,
because
thank you,
it's so deserved. And well
thank
done
you.
you for getting to the final. How do you remember all your routines? Do you have pointers in your head, or even if you don't write them down, do you try and keep it going through pointers through your head, for example, or something like that?
Um, I guess you have like you will always have. I think every act has their best 20 minutes
Yeah,
of stuff just that they use on a regular basis. Because really, you're looking for material that you can take anywhere. So universal material, and then that's the stuff that you keep in your head because you know it works everywhere. So you have a spine of an act, a spine of 20 minutes of material that's just in there all the time that I'm regularly saying, so it doesn't go anywhere. It's just, well, I tell you what, during COVID and lockdown, I think that happened to a lot of comedians is because we weren't saying it regularly. After we came back, like I didn't go over any of my material ready to come back, so I just came back, went to a gig expecting my muscle memory to be just say my jokes. And I was getting halfway through a joke and then just saying out loud to the audience, I have no idea how this ends. I
at
don't know
least
what,
it's honest.
I have no idea. And it was getting laughs for me saying that, but I was genuinely just didn't have a clue what was next. I
other
knew the
than
setups, I didn't know any punchlines.
other than this blog, the most creative thing I've ever done was write. I've written a play, just like a 40-minute play, which originally was I wanted for the Edinburgh Fringe, but me and my mate put it on for comic relief, and we got a lot of money for it. The play is called The Applicant, and it's basically about me coming down from Carlisle to London, and I've never had a job, so I've never had a job interview, and I've got a successful girlfriend, and I'm come down to London and move in with her, and but I haven't got a job, so so the setup was basically me in the waiting room, looking round, nervous, talking to the audience, and then the interview itself. So it would go waiting room interview, and eventually he gets his ideal job, blah blah blah. But I wrote monologues for each one of these things. So it was like 6 pages of it all, and I ran out on the first night and completely forgot my words. I was like a rabbit in headlights. I did get his my favourite joke in, which was his name. It was called Norman Oliver Hope, so all the letters would be Dear N.O. Hope, no Hope, and that got a laugh, and I was staggered. But what was fascinating with that was when my mate came on, he played all the different interviewers. I picked it up and we bounced. We could bounce off each other with the lines.
Yeah.
I suppose with comedy, you've got the audience for that if you completely freeze. Is that correct?
Yeah, do you know what? If we go back to my first ever gig, actually, you
Yeah.
just reminded me. You just reminded me what happened there. So
No, please do.
I I had written all of my jokes on the back of my hand in case I forgot. And then obviously what happens is I always tell people this actually, just to go off the beaten track a bit. So for me, what happens is when you decide to do stand-up comedy, you get into it because you think you're funny, and then you put yourself and your soul in that position, and your soul doesn't like it. It says, I don't like what you're doing here, uh, and I'm going to leave the body for a bit. And it just leaves you as an empty vessel on the stage, just saying words, but with no twinkle in your eye and no character. And you can't work out why nobody's laughing, and it's because you haven't got a soul anymore. It's just you're just a nothing, just an empty vessel.
That's
And then
fascinating.
over time, as your confidence grows a bit, now and again your soul comes back, and it joins you on stage for just sometimes at the beginning, just like 10 seconds, whilst you interact with the audience off the cuff, and you'll go home and you'll say, "I really enjoyed that 10 seconds." And I think it was just because I was just myself, and then it comes back for a bit longer and a bit longer until eventually you might do a whole minute as yourself and your soul's involved, and you go, oh, that was really enjoyable, that moment. And then eventually it's just you're back, your soul comes back, and he goes, all right, I'm comfortable now.
You're comfortable with it.
But
That's wonderful.
but the writing on the hand and forgetting the material, so I was so nervous on that first gig. I'd written all my jokes on my hand, but then this is how nervous I was. I forgot that I'd written my jokes on my hand. So I forgot my material and forgot I'd had written my material on my hand in case I forgot my material.
Wow. But yet you soldiered on.
Yeah, yeah. Glutton for punishment.
Let's move on. That's wonderful. Let's move on. I'm very lucky every year to be able to have my holiday at the Edinburgh Festival. I go there every year. I've first went in 2005, and I've only missed two because of the pandemic. And in the last 2 or 3 years, I've expanded more. So I'm going to Leicester. I've got Hastings coming up. There's Brighton. There's loads of fringes and festivals. What's your experience of a festival or a fringe or Edinburgh in particular? When did you first go? Have you been as a punter? Have you been as part of a show? Anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I've been up to Edinburgh a few times as a punter before I did it, and then in
Yeah.
2017 I did a two-hander for the
Yeah.
full run with a guy called Sam Wyatt.
Oh, he's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah,
I know
and
him
we
well.
did
He's good. Yeah.
and we did a little a show in the wee room at the Three Sisters
Know it well.
every day for a month. But our show was at 10 a.m.
Oh, mate. Oh, that couldn't
But
be.
and that sounds terrible, but every other show that was on was a kids show. So we ended up with a full room every day
Oh, that well,
because
that's great. Yeah.
we
So
were the only adult.
so you got the audience.
Yeah, and it was fine. I mean, yeah, went out drinking and stuff some nights, and 10 a.m. was I
Fine.
was sleeping in. You know what? I'm such a gypsy. I slept in my transit. You know how expensive accommodation is in Edinburgh. I
Ridiculous.
drove I drove up in my transit van with a mattress in the back for the whole month,
Oh, brilliant. How cool are you? That's
and
brilliant.
I
That's
parked
brilliant.
just down the bottom, so down all the hills, and I'd cycle back up on my bike every day, and then
Good
obviously
man.
for the night and have a few drinks, and then just roll down the hill to the van. So
That's fantastic. I bet that was amazing. That
yeah,
was what 2017. That was a good year.
yeah, it was a good year. Yeah, made it to the show on time every day, amazizingly, which was
And have you been since? Have you been since 2017? Have you done more?
yeah. When did I go last? Be a couple of years ago now, I suppose.
Yeah.
Just do a few spots and stuff, and just to see other comics and little
And it,
breakaway, I guess.
and are you
But I will
writing an
do.
hour then? Did you say? Are you writing a solo show?
Yeah, I didn't really want to do my own show until I felt like I had something worth saying or worth listening to, because you can easily go up and just do an hour of jokes, but I don't think that's what you're supposed to do up in Edinburgh, is it? I think there's a
I think it's get noticed if you can. That's how I
Yeah, I think
so many.
I just wanted to be happy with the content of the show, so it was like, something that was worthwhile saying. And
Yeah, yeah,
now I've been on a journey, 4-year journey of getting trying for a baby with my partner and IVF and all of this stuff. So there's a lot of stuff now worth saying, and it's changed my outlook on the world quite a lot and the way I see a lot of things. And yeah, so now I've got stuff
brilliant.
to say, I guess.
So is that going to be this year, 2024, or next year with the show?
Originally, I thought it would be this year, but being how tired I am and it's February, probably
Of
not.
course.
Probably not.
Probably not.
No.
But, well, I wish you all the success with that, and I'll be first in the queue to see it because I bet
No.
it'd be amazing. It's so good. Um, to date, what has been your comedy highlight? Have you had a comedy highlight?
Comedy highlights. Um, um, it's a tough one. I don't really know.
Apart from
Uh,
being on this podcast.
yeah, no, that was the first thing that sprung to mind.
Of course.
It's been, I guess there's just continuously little highlights that then get
Yeah,
outstrung by another highlight. So I
yeah,
guess early on, I'd only been going a little while, and I was in the '80s final at the Bloomsbury Theatre, which was a highlight at that moment, I guess.
congratulations.
Um, yeah, British Comedian of the Year finals, a
Really good
highlight.
again.
Um, I don't know. I don't really. I don't know how to define a highlight. Everything's got its own reason for
It's got its
being
own thing, yeah.
a good moment,
Um,
you know.
okay, what's your view on competitions then, in general? Do you think they're a good thing for a comedian?
I think it's um it's a funny one with competition because it's good for a comedian in the sense that it it forces the comedian to write a tight set with no fat on it.
Yeah,
So cut all the fat, get as much into that time as you can. It's good for your writing and you're doing that, but for actually being a way to judge whether you're good or not on that night, it probably isn't because there's so much judgment in the air, which obviously, but you can just feel it in competition rooms. Like you can tell the audience aren't relaxed and just enjoying it as it is because they're constantly thinking, is this person funnier than the last person? What am I going to score him out of 10 or her out of 10? And you can just feel the judgment in the air at comedy heats and competitions, and it kind of sucks the joy out of it for both the audience and the performer because the performer's too busy focusing on will I go through? Is this going to be as good as the last guy? Like
yeah.
when Alistair went on at British Comedian of the Year in the final, and he just obliterated the gig. And I don't know what the others are going to say about it, but I know that every single person on that bill said to themselves in their head, "This competition is over now."
Oh,
Because
but the
I watched him
competition
and I
was
thought,
very high that year because I
I
remember
watched,
Maureen Younger was
yeah,
brilliant, and so was Nick Everett. He was really good,
yeah,
and you
yeah,
were really good. So there
but
was
yeah,
a lot there, but there must have been a moment when you thought, "This is it. He's won."
I just thought when I saw Alistair doing that, I just thought you can't
It's
actually get
Alistair
more out of
Williams.
10 minutes
Yeah,
than this. That was the
yeah.
most. I don't know if anyone anywhere on that night would have got more into 10 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He
It's
was
incredible.
brilliant. There was no
It's
doubt.
so
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Mm. Um, have you done many online gigs as opposed to live
I've
gigs when lockdown was on?
I've never done one single online gig. My soul will not allow me to do it. It
I
it got it it, it
when
got
lock
upset. It started saying to me, "You're not putting me through all that again." It took us 10 years to get back together. Um, no, there's not enough
no,
feedback,
definitely
instant
not.
feedback, and I need to feel the instant feedback. Watching a thumb and a heart go up in the air on the side of the screen is not enough for me.
When lockdown was on, I would go to two or three a week. sit here and just listen to them. They were a lot better than nothing. But
Yeah.
when it started, and they were all trying to work out what to do, there was no audio. So they couldn't hear the audience. So I'm here going, yes, going bananas. People are banging on the walls, saying, "Shut the fuck!" And I'm like, "Well, I'm going to be taken away here." But
When you
when
say sorry, when you say they were banging on the wall saying "shut the fuck up," are you sure that just wasn't a Thursday for the NHS?
Probably was. But when the audio did come in, they could time the jokes. They could. It was better.
Yeah.
But you cannot beat live because you're in the
No.
moment.
Yeah.
Anything can happen, and
Yeah.
that's the magic of it. What is not to love when you go to a live comedy gig? I'm so passionate about the art.
Yeah.
So for example, if your name is on a bill and I'm going to that bill, I know I'm going to have a good time because I've seen you before. But if you've never seen people on a bill and they do something that is wonderful, then there's the next big thing, and
Yeah. Yeah.
there's so much joy to come out of it. It's such a wonderful thing, and that's what I'm trying to get across, obviously, in the podcast.
Yeah.
The passion and the support, because there's so many vying for it, and when you can
Mm.
do it well, like you can, it's magical to watch. So well done again, you.
Thank you.
It's wonderful. It's so good. Who are your favourite comedians, past and present? Did you have comedy growing up?
Yeah. The first stand-up comedian, sort of modern day stand-up comedian that I watched as a teenager, I guess, and it made me realize, oh, this is even before I was doing college or whatever, and that moment with the comedy course. So I watched Lee Evans
That's
do
brilliant.
what he does, and just remember thinking, oh wow, you can just. I go right back now to one day when I realized that, like jokes, written jokes, like cracker jokes, all of those jokes. This sounds ridiculous, but one day I had a realization that jokes were written by people. I don't know
Wow.
where they came from before that, but one day I just thought, oh my God, these are all just written by other human beings. That means that means potentially I could write something like this myself.
That's brilliant. That's so good. It's so good. It reminded me of when you said it. When I was very small, I used to listen to the radio a lot, and I always used to think when the DJs would introduce the songs, the bands would be sitting there getting up playing the songs and and then my mum and dad go, no, it's records. And they bought me one, prove it. And it's magical because it's like an imaginary thing because you don't know until you do it.
Yeah. So then, but back to the question. Yeah. So
Yes,
Lee Evans.
please, yeah.
I was about 16 or 17, I guess, and I come across Lee Evans doing stand up, and then I recorded it and gave it to my friend. I said, "Watch this." He hadn't seen anything like that before either, and then we just loved what he was doing. And then I knew about stand up comedy. I guess that was my discovery of it. Then I started watching. There used to be like stuff on Channel 4 or late night, like FHM stand up hero stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they'd just be like, you didn't know who any of them were. They were just random people
Yeah,
doing stand up, and I loved all of that. I was
yeah,
obsessed with that. And then started looking at older comics like Tommy Cooper.
yeah.
Do you know what? Tommy Cooper is what for me is a proper comedian because
Amazing.
it doesn't matter how much you try and say no, he's not funny. Is if you watch Tommy Cooper for long enough, he will break you.
Yeah,
He will break you, and you will laugh at something very, very childish,
yeah,
very silly, and he brings out that inner child and silliness,
yeah.
which is the genius. That's the art of comedy,
It's
you know.
brilliant. My first ever gig in 1974, age 7, was Les Dawson. And then
Yeah.
a year later, we saw Tommy Cooper on
Yeah.
stage, and he was incredible. The curtains opened. He's lying on a bed. Nothing happens, and he's lying on a bed. And one woman in the packed audience is pissing herself laughing, and nothing's happened. And he trickles round, so everybody is crying with laughter. And with perfect timing, he pops his head up. He goes, What? Has somebody come on?" Just genius. And I always like to think the magic, it's so good. The magic
Amazing.
of that, the
Yeah.
magic of him was that he knew exactly what he was doing. But I always like to think he never realized how funny he was. And that's why
Yeah.
he was genuinely hilarious.
Yeah.
All the
Yeah. Yeah.
magic tricks he knew how to do. But I've seen so many clips. There's a classic Parkinson one where he's a guest, and he comes on and he's got a saucepan on his head, and Parkinson can't. He's just crying with laughter at him, and he manages to point to the top of the head, and he goes, "What?" He said, "Where's the fez?" He went, "Oh damn!" Walks off and comes back on with it. He was magical.
Yeah. Yeah. He was. Yeah.
So that was it, and I got the bug from that. And it's so good. You said Tommy Cooper, he was great, and Lee Evans. Before he did his arena tours, he always used to do test gigs, and one of the audiences was Carlisle, so we would go and see him. I
Right.
met him. I always have photographs with everybody, but I didn't get one with him, unfortunately. But I did shake his hand at the end
Yeah.
of the gig, and by God, he was sweating.
Yeah.
But he was great because the finish of every joke, the punchline of every joke was a visual hit as well. He could
Yeah.
manifest his face into whatever he wanted to, and that was
Yes.
genius. And move
Yeah.
around and visual and everything. He was wonderful. He was absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
I've been,
I guess Lee
yeah,
Evans. I guess was it was the idea that you could make observations funny. Like I hadn't realized that
yeah,
he could
yeah,
say,
yeah.
"I do this," and I would go, "Oh yeah, that happens to me too." That's why
Yeah.
it's funny. I'm only just thinking about it now, but that was why I was drawn to him originally because it was the first entrance into observational comedy for me.
So good, so good, and a lot of them do it now. The observational comedy. One of the best is Sean Walsh for me now. I
Yeah,
think he's phenomenally good. He's so good at what
yeah.
he does.
I did a bit of new material at Backyard Comedy Club on Tuesday just gone.
Yeah,
It was a new act night, but I just went down there just to try out some stuff. And Sean Walsh happened to be on doing 10 minutes of new stuff as well.
wow.
And he done this stuff about McDonald's touchscreens
Yeah,
and
I think I've heard that.
being
Yeah,
obsessed with his phone. And what's amazing about what Sean does is like on paper, that stuff that he says, if you just read that off a piece of paper, you go, I'm not going to say that. That's not that funny. But
yeah.
the energy and enthusiasm he puts into it and the actions and how much
It's
movement he does.
incredible.
At
It's
one point, he
incredible.
was up against the crates at the back doing
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
riding on an airplane sort of thing,
yeah.
and you just think that's so much commitment.
He's been on here and he was wonderful. It was all just visual comedy.
Yeah,
It was so good. We saw, I think the current tour is Back from the Dead, and we saw that in September at the Hackney Empire, and he was incredible. It's
yeah.
so good when it's done so well. I'll say it's a joy to watch. Um, like me, following on from that, like me, do you go to many comedy gigs as a member of the audience?
Um, Not anymore. No, not
No.
really. I did used to go to a
Did
few.
you? Yeah, yeah.
But no, not so much. No, never. In fact, I don't. Actually, no. I'm lying. I'm lying. My missus will tell you I'm a liar, and I am lying. So
Surely not.
at festivals, I go to festivals quite a lot, and there's comedy tent sometimes at the festivals, and then I'm just there as a
Yeah,
punter. I was at a festival called Nostock a little while ago
I've
in
heard of that. Yeah,
near edge of Wales,
yeah.
and Phil Kay was on there, and Tom
Oh,
Ward and
superb.
Darius. There, Phil Kay ended up getting a guy on his shoulders, and you like, how is he even carrying that guy? Just chaos, you know. it's pure chaos. You think everyone's going to fall over. This is going to be a disaster,
Yeah.
and it wasn't. Just, but I guess
Amazing.
that's the beauty of live comedy. That feeling of, oh my God, is something going to go terribly wrong?
Yeah.
That's what everybody loves, right?
Brilliant. Brilliant. If you were on a bill of, I don't know, 5 acts and you were on first, would you stay and watch all the acts?
Depends what day of the week it is.
Yeah.
If my partner's angry with me, um
Oh.
no, no. It genuinely depends who's on the bill.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
As when I was starting out, so I would always stay to watch the closing act.
Yeah.
That at a pro night when I was doing middle spots, especially if it was a tough gig. Like if it was difficult and I'd struggled, I want to know how this professional, the guy or girl, deals with this gig. I want to see what they do, so I can take something from that going forward. Or I mean, if you're not, sometimes I see newer acts just going home, and I'm like, do you know who's about to go on at the end? Why? Where are you going? What are you doing? You
Don't
want to
miss
learn
this.
anything or not?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, my friend, this has been joyous. I've so much enjoyed chatting to you. Um, just before we go, is there anything else you'd like to say? Do you have any podcasts? Do you have any tours coming up or any gigs that you want to plug? Or what's your social media or anything like that?
Um, I don't have a tour coming up or any podcasts yet, but I do have quite a few gigs of my own that I run now. So
Right.
I've got a few in Kent. I've got one in Ramsgate. Actually, the next show it's a monthly thing, but the next one is this Friday at the Queen's Head in Ramsgate, and we've got Lenny Sherman opening the
Oh,
show.
brilliant. Being on here, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and Toju is closing.
Yeah.
Then I've got another little gig. I've just started at a Medway Little Theatre in Rochester,
Oh, yeah.
um, and that is got Tom Ward opening
Brilliant.
and Paul Tonkinson closing.
Oh, Tonkinson's one of the best.
I mean, they're both. I just saw
Yeah,
Tom
Tom
Ward
Ward's brilliant as well, but
so good,
Tomkinson again with the visual
physical stuff. Yeah,
expressions. We saw him just last week, and he was incredible.
yeah,
He's always good value for money. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
One,
I wish you well with both of them, both of those gigs.
yeah. But the one I'm really looking forward to is I just got a new venue in London, at the Westow House in Crystal Palace.
All right.
And it's not till the bank holiday in May on the Sunday, but I've got Michael Adewale opening. I've got Julian Dean in the middle,
Oh,
and I've got Jeff Innocent closing.
oh, my
I
friend,
mean,
I'm there.
I mean, is there a better lineup on the night in anywhere
And
anywhere?
you.
You know, and I'm hosting, yeah. So
Wow. Well, do let me know and I'll be there definitely because
yeah,
I'm at Southfields, so it's not
nice,
far from
yeah,
Crystal Palace at all,
lovely, yeah,
and
yeah,
I'll be
perfect.
there definitely.
Apart from that, yeah, my social medias is Wilson's Jokes on Instagram, Wilson Milton Comedy on Facebook. Don't follow me on Twitter unless you want to hear about cryptocurrencies.
Right. Well, listen, my friend. Thank you so much for your time,
No
and
worries.
I'm so looking forward to coming and see you again very soon because I
Thank
think you're a
you.
major talent. Please,
Thank you very
please
much.
keep doing what you're doing, and all the best to you. Thank you so
Appreciate it.
much.
Thank you very much. Good to chat.
Thank you.